Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 4. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I just want to share with you some things that have been on my mind. I went to go see The Chosen, which is a TV show about Christ, if you haven't seen it. They just released the first couple episodes of season 4 in the theaters. And don't worry, no spoilers. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things really quick that don't give anything away. But this show has been amazing in bringing Christ to life and showing what it really means to follow him. And there's this one scene that really stuck out to me where Christ is speaking with Matthew, and they're having this discussion, and Jesus just says, "Follow me and everything else will work out," or something to that effect. They haven't released the episodes. I was going to go back and get the quote perfectly right, but that was kind of the gist of it. And going into watching this episode, these episodes in the theater, I kind of had a thought going into it. I've had a couple things in my mind lately and wanting to get some more direction from God about a couple of things in my life. And I've always been good at asking for direction and answers to prayers and things like that with General Conference and moments I'm struggling or other events and things like that. But I just had this thought as I was getting ready to go. I was like, what if you ask to get direction through this Chosen episode? Because God can speak to us in many ways. And even if it is a TV show, it's still a TV show about Christ. And so I just kind of put that thought out into the universe. I didn't really formally pray, but I just kind of put it out there. And so I kind of was a little bit more open feeling going into watching it. And as this scene happened, it really just hit me right in the face, where it was very much, there you go, like, this is the scene, this is what you needed to hear. And I'll just kind of tell you what I've been thinking up to that point, so a little bit of context for you. In general, I feel like I get a good amount of direction from God on what to do in my life and the things to work on and projects to pursue and things to share online and various things like that, and how to help my kids and whatnot. But that's kind of slowed down the last year or so as I've been in grad school and the program has intensified and my time has been a little bit more full. I feel like God's kind of given me a little bit of a break so that I could focus on school and my kids and things like that. But the last month or so, I feel like there's been a little bit of a shift, and God wants me to learn something new. So I've had a previous I guess revelation is the right word, inspiration from God, that there are certain things in my life that he wants me to do, but there are certain things that he wants me to choose, that he doesn't necessarily want to give me specific direction about. And this is kind of a struggle for me because I am the girl who likes to follow directions. And if you tell me what to do, I will do it. So it's very much a shift for me to be told that I get to choose more of what my path is, because I've very much been a kind of girl that just wants to show up and been humble enough to just take direction from the Lord. But he's really shown me lately that he kind of wants to step back in that role and allow me to kind of find my voice and find my path a little bit more. And so what I experience is as I've been looking for direction about this one particular thing in my life, I feel like he's continued to reiterate that I get to choose, and that not everything needs to be decided by him or micromanaged in my life. I was in the temple the other day and just flipped to a random section in the scriptures, which I haven't done in a very long time. And so I just felt like it was time to kind of do that kind of fun practice again. And I turned to Doctrine and Covenants section 37. And the last verse says, "Behold, here is wisdom, and let every man choose for himself until I come." And I remember reading that, and then I was like, okay, let me go to the next chapter and continue to read. Then I was like, wait a second. Like I almost had to do a double take, because I was like, wait a second, that's what you've been telling me that I haven't really been wanting to hear, because I want you to just tell me what to do, because then I won't be wrong. This is what you've been telling me to do, and you're telling me again, you get to choose. And even at work, I found my boss is like, you guys like to ask me questions to clarify, because if you make the decision by yourself and it's wrong, then it's your fault. But if you ask me and it's wrong, it's my fault. And so there's this idea of having the ability to control and make more choices in my life means that I have to take more responsibility and do more pondering and thinking and weighing choices and really deciding for myself. And that's something that I've kind of struggled with. I'd rather, find a verse to back it up, or a specific experience where I've gotten direction. And so I feel like God's really teaching me how to trust my own instincts and my own spirit to be able to make choices that make sense for me. And I know that he will stop me or warn me if there's something amiss in the choices that I'm making. I'm not saying that he's going to be totally hands off, but I think there's some things where it may not be a huge, that it's not an internal consequence if I choose a specific thing, and that he is allowing me to have that choice. And it's a little bit scary to do that. It's hard. And so going back to watching The Chosen last week, to be able to, have those experiences and then go into it again, kind of more, looking for additional direction and confirmation of things I've already gotten answers about, because I'm still unsure and learning to find my voice. God says, follow me and everything will work out. And even just doing this podcast again and doing this second season and kind of making time to do that's been my latest follow him thing that I've done, where I've felt led by God to pick this back up and start talking about Come Follow Me and just other experiences that I've had. And so I felt very encouraged to know that if I can just keep moving forward with the direction of faith towards God, that things will work out and that I will figure them out. Excuse me. And that I don't have to be micromanaged. That I'm 35 years old and been believing in Christ for most of my life, and he trusts me to make the right decision. And that can be a scary thing, but it's been very comforting as well, because this is something I've struggled with even outside of my faith, in non-faith parts of my life, where I've struggled to stand up and say things and to be myself and to trust myself over other people. And that's been really hard. And that's been something that I've really had to work on the last few years, especially because of the relationships I've been in the past have not been healthy. And so I've had to really find my voice again, and to have God trust me to do things is a huge deal. To have someone else trust me and give me that freedom to really act is really a powerful thing. There's a video that I talked about a couple of episodes ago from the 10-minute Bible hour from Matt I'm blanking on his last name. I'll link in the show notes, but he interviews this missionary Baptist preacher, and it's this fabulous interview. I'll link it for you, but this pastor talks about the idea of having been led by the Spirit, by God, that most of what happens in our lives is that the Spirit, as he says, pulls on our heartstrings, and then we choose to act. And that really most Christians are Christian because God first prompted them to come unto him. And I love this idea that we can be led by God to make certain choices in our lives. And I think that he is going to lead us to certain places, but sometimes, and more often than I would like, he wants us to do the rest. And that's where I'm kind of learning to stand on my own 2 feet and not necessarily have God as a crutch, but as a partner. I want to have him as a partner and not like a micromanaged boss. And so I've been also reflecting on another scene that was in The Chosen, was this experience that's recorded in John chapter 9, where this person is sitting on the steps of the temple, and he was born blind, and the Pharisees are there and ask, is it this man's wickedness or that of his father's or his parents that made him to be born blind? And Christ says, no, it's neither. It's so that the works of God could be made manifest through him. And what he does is he makes mud into this little like salve, and he puts it on the man's eyes to wash them or to cleanse them basically. And then he asks the man to go and wash his face, to take the mud off. And what was really powerful in that moment was that Christ just kind of showed up out of nowhere to heal this man. But he also instructed the man to then wash his face, to basically complete the healing. It wasn't just this miraculous one act play on the part of Christ. It was a 2-act thing where Christ was like, hey, I'm going to do this part, and this is the next part that I want you to do. And I actually felt this tonight. I'm trying to record this episode. I've been thinking about it for almost a week now and have been trying to do it for a couple of nights, and it just didn't feel right. And I had homework and the kids and all these things that I kind of got in the way. But I also was like, I'm not feeling like this really big push of like exactly what I should talk about and exactly what I should say and what big point I need to make with this episode. And even tonight, I was kind of sitting in my chair. The kids were asleep, and I was reading through this week's Come Follow Me again, and really wanting to see if I could pull something out that was going to be really powerful for me. And there were a few things that stood out, but for the most part, I just had this sense that I needed to do an episode and I needed to talk about what I wanted to talk about. But there was no real clear direction of what God wanted me to say. There was no like, okay, Melissa, this is the specific thing you should talk about. Or there was no like really cool teaching item that I wanted to share like I have in the last couple of weeks. It was just share where you're at. And I was having like 3 or 4 different ideas of what to share. And no one of them was really, standing out from the others. And this really stopped me for a good 20 minutes where I just kind of sat here and was like, well, should I just go for it? Should I just do it? I'm feeling led and I'm pushed in this direction, but I'm still not really sure what the final product's going to look like. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of so many examples in the scriptures where Nephi, goes to go fight Laban for the plates. And he's, knowing knowing not what I would do before I did it. I'm butchering that verse, but he didn't know what he was going to do until it kind of happened. And even thinking of Moses ending up at the Red Sea, he's like, okay, well, we're here. Now what? You led me to free the Israelites, and I did. And now we're at the sea, and now the Pharaoh and his people are coming. Like, what am I supposed to do? And again, in that instance, God uses his power to part the Red Sea, but Moses has to do his part and put the staff in the water. He has to make that action happen to be able to participate in the work. And I think that if I could bring it back around to come follow me into to Second Nephi chapters 1 and 2, is we learn about the fall and Adam and Eve, and that they fell that we might have joy, and that there are opposites so that we can have the opportunity to choose, and that we need to act rather than being acted upon. And I think that God is going to do what he is going to do. He's going to lead us. He's going to prick our hearts. He's going to prompt us. He's going to whisper in our ear and make us feel those things. But it's up to us to act and to do what is necessary to participate in our faith, in our exaltation, in our own lives, to be able to create the things that we want to have in our lives, to move forward, and to not just rely on Christ to do everything for us. He wants us to be agents unto ourselves. He wants us to move forward and be strong, faithful disciples that stand up and speak out and do these wonderful things that make a difference in people's lives. If we go back to what I shared the first episode back about the gift of prophecy, when we prophesy, we stand up and we speak out about Christ and we testify of Christ. And that can be a very simple thing, to just stand and speak. And I think that's what God's trying to teach me to do tonight with this episode. It feels jumbled in my mind. Hopefully it doesn't come out that way. And if it does, at least I'm trying. But God is here to help us to grow. And this is one thing that I'm still learning, is to take a step even when I don't know what's going to come next. I've had a very patient God the last couple of years where he's allowed me to take baby steps when I'm ready, but he usually shows me the next step. And tonight, even with this little episode, he hasn't shown me the next step. He just wanted me to hit record, and so I did. I just want to testify that God is here. He is with you. When I did continue on to read section 38 in the temple the other day, the other verse that caught my mind was in verse 7. It says, "But behold, verily, verily, I say unto you, that mine eyes are upon you. I am in your midst, and ye cannot see me. But the day soon cometh that ye shall see me, and know that I am. And the veil of darkness shall soon be rent, and he that is not purified shall not abide the day." That's verse 8 as well. But I love the idea of that ye cannot see me, but I am in your midst. God is with you. He's gonna come to you. He's gonna give you direction. Even if it's just a slight little feeling, a slight little prompting, he will lead you to show you what to do next and give you the courage and faith to act on those promptings, to act and not be acted upon. He wants you to be strong and be who he says you can be. And I encourage you to take whatever leap of faith that you are struggling to take tonight. Find that inner strength, that confidence in yourself, that confidence in God to make that step, even if you don't know what it's going to look like, even if it feels like you're stepping into the darkness or stepping into the wilderness. I know that there are good things ahead and that God will provide a way when he leads us to something specific. And I'm here along with you, and I know that you can do it, and God knows you can do it. Okay, thanks for listening.